this is Assistance to a Photographer by Rosalind Cavazos. The table of contents right here is number 1, why and how. This is the process on how and why I became a photographer's assistant. Number 2, course of action, what I would do throughout the experience. 3, process. This is the trials and errors and solutions within the work. 4, reflection, how I grew from this experience and what I learned. Introduction. In the process of picking out the perfect cast project, there did come some trials and errors just because of the fact that my project changed a lot through the 2 years of having cast. In the final makings of my decision, I decided to become an assistant for a photographer for free. I knew that I had to get a project in for cast and thought this would be the perfect opportunity to help someone with the start of their own little business for free. I know that not everything comes easily, so I volunteered to help within all aspects to the photographer. How? The idea of this project all began with the fact that my mother decided to start her own business with photography. I knew she was going to need help from the beginning of the process. We came up with the idea that I should be her assistant to help her out and make it a little bit more simpler for her to do her work. With the idea of me being her assistant towards her new business, I did have a couple of tasks to do in order for her to keep wanting me to be her assistant. With the decision of me being her assistant, I decided that it would also be my cast project because I already knew it would be a great idea. Strengths and areas for growth. With the process of being an assistant of a photographer, there were some jobs that I was normally not used to, but then there was also some strengths that I already had developed from before. For example, some strengths that I had was to catch the attention of kids or babies when they were not paying attention to the camera. It was important for the photographer to make sure that there was at least a couple of pictures with the young children and babies to be looking at the camera. The reason why I had a strength in this is because I would babysit in the past and still do at times. So over the time, I have learned to grasp young children's attention. An area where I needed to improve was being more alert when the photographer needed my assistance, especially when there was a setup and I was needed to move things around. If I were to be more alert and fast, it would be much easier for the photographer to get her work and sessions done. Undertaken challenges. As an assistant to a new coming photographer, there were some challenges that were brought upon. For example, bringing in more clients, having a flexible schedule, learning the do's and don'ts within a professional setting. When these challenges were brought up, I had to come up with solutions to make it more easier for the photographer. I came up with the idea of connecting the business and with social media to hook in more clientele. We also made a scheduling based on bookings, and over time with the interactions within the business setting place, I learned what was best for the environment. Plan and initiation for cast project plus commitment. With the cast project, I had so many ideas on what to do, but over time I figured that some things were not possible under some circumstances. So when the idea of being the assistant for a photographer and not being paid for the first thing that came to my mind was a cast project. I personally thought of it as a learning experience to have a new aspect on how a new upcoming business would work. And with that being said, there were some ideas and plannings that had to be done. For example, what were some good poses, how to make it comfortable for the client, like in the environment, and how to build up clientele. Skills and benefits. With the project, there were some advantages that were eventually brought up. For example, being around more people gave me a new skill to becoming more open-minded towards people. I learned how to be more communicative and understand how you should act towards certain people based on the ways they express themselves towards you. Another skill that was learned from this experience was knowing to shoot some behind the scenes of content in the social media. This was definitely a growth within many areas throughout the timing and growth. Engagement with issues and considerations of choices and actions. Overall, the whole experience of this CAS project was a good experience. Although there were some misinterpretations within things and errors, there was always a choice to look on the bright side of things. When there was a bad experience, that for instance a customer coming late to a session when there was a paid timing within a studio, or customers not showing up at all, there was always going to be a decision on how you should act towards that. When there were times that where there were misinterpretations, we took it as a learning experience, and from that we came up with ideas on how to be better for the future experiences. Thank you.